She said, "You're too predictable. Not the kind of man I want anymore." So, I let her chase the chaos she craved, while I quietly built the life she thought I never could. Months later, she came begging to return, but I was already gone. I was never the kind of guy people noticed first at parties. On the rare occasion I went, I'd be tucked away in a corner, sipping whatever drink I'd been handed, smirking at my own dry humor. Melissa was the complete opposite. She'd be barefoot on the dance floor before dessert, making strangers laugh like they were lifelong friends. That's how we met, at a mutual friend's wedding 3 years ago. I never imagined someone like her would walk right up to me and ask why I looked like I was stuck in a boring seminar. But she did. Somehow we clicked. Our first year together felt perfect. Lazy Sundays tangled up together. Playlists we curated for long drives. Silly inside jokes that became part of our daily lives. We were different, but it worked, at least for a while. Then things began to shift. Melissa got a big promotion in PR and started running in new circles. People with designer shoes and louder personalities. Brunches turned into wild nights out. Weekend getaways became club-hopping marathons. I tried to keep up, I really did. I smiled through rooftop parties, nodded along to conversations that felt like reality TV auditions, but it wore me down. One evening, after yet another gathering where I felt like an accessory more than a partner, I asked if she wanted to move in together. She barely looked up from her phone, blinking like my question didn't register. "Why would we do that? We've been together for 3 years," I said softly, trying not to sound hurt. Melissa gave a light shrug as if it were a passing thought. "Evan, you're great, but honestly, you're too predictable. I feel like I already know what you're gonna say before you even say it. I need mystery, excitement. You're safe, and that's just not my type anymore." It didn't even feel like a breakup. More like she casually switched channels while I was still invested in the movie. "Thanks for being honest," I said. She smiled like she'd done something mature and, unbelievably, asked if I still wanted to join her for a wine tasting event the next day. I didn't go. She left later that night without a second glance, already texting someone else about plans. I sat alone, trying to figure out when I'd started waiting for her to decide I was enough. We never had a dramatic fight, no emotional goodbye. She just moved forward, like our relationship was a good chapter she'd outgrown. Meanwhile, I sat in the quiet aftermath wondering what had just happened. For a while, I told myself I'd reach out. Maybe after she had time to think, she'd realize something. But days turned into weeks, and all I saw were her posts. Wild nights out, cryptic captions like, "The wild ones can't be tamed." Felt like she had rewritten her life without me in it. One weekend, while Melissa was out partying with people I no longer recognized, I opened an old notebook. The spine was cracked, and the pages were filled with business ideas I once believed in, before I shelved them, and myself. That night, something shifted. Not in some cinematic way, but quietly, like an engine finally humming back to life. The notebook held plans for a creative co-working space, a community hub for freelancers, artists, and remote workers. I dreamed it up years ago but put it aside, thinking it was too risky. Or maybe I didn't want Melissa to see me as chasing some pipe dream. Now, there was nothing holding me back. I started small, cleaned up the plans, reworked the numbers, called Matt, an old college friend who had a small art studio gathering dust. I asked if he'd rent it to me for cheap while I tested things out. He agreed without hesitation. I didn't post about it online. No big announcements. Just quiet, steady work. Early mornings before my remote job. Late nights sketching plans on coffee-stained napkins. Meanwhile, Melissa's life played out in high resolution on Instagram. Bottomless brunches, DJ sets, jet-setting to new cities. Her captions grew even more cryptic, her friends even less familiar. I didn't comment, didn't react. Not because I was angry. I just had other things to do. Little by little, something real began to take shape. The studio opened its doors one rainy Thursday. No balloons, no grand opening, just coffee brewing, a welcome sign, and a dozen folding chairs. A handful of creatives came through. A photographer, a poet, a startup guy juggling tabs on his laptop. We shared playlists, swapped book recommendations, held workshops. People stayed longer than they planned to. The space grew, not wildly, but enough to make rent. Enough to start thinking about adding a second room. Enough to feel like I was finally doing something that mattered. Melissa didn't notice. Not at first. Then, one evening during a poetry reading, someone tagged me in a photo on Instagram. Just me, standing by a bookshelf, laughing with a writer over tea. That's when the first message came. Did you open a business? I saw it and left it unread. 2 days later. Can we talk? I didn't realize you were doing all this. Thought you were just working or something. Still, I didn't reply. Not out of spite. Just because I wasn't looking back anymore. The version of me Melissa knew, the one who bent to fit into her world, waiting to be chosen, that man didn't exist anymore. Weeks later, she showed up at the studio during an event. Said she was just passing by. Walked around like a curious stranger, complimenting the plants and the lighting. I nodded, thanked her, and went back to work. A week later, she returned. This time with a mutual friend, laughing too loudly, trying to act surprised to see me. I stayed polite, professional. But I didn't ask how she was. Didn't invite her for coffee. Then came the flirting. You've changed, she said one evening by the snack table. You're glowing. It's sexy. I smiled. Thanks. That was all. She tried again the next time, saying how rare it was to see someone build something from nothing. Said she always knew I had it in me. I didn't correct her. Didn't remind her that I shelved these dreams once for a relationship where I never felt enough. Months later, nearly on the anniversary of when we met, she messaged again. I think I made a mistake. I miss you. You were the only person who felt like home. I read it twice, maybe 3 times. Then replied, I'm glad you found what you were looking for. I did too. That was it. She didn't know about Claire, the writer who helped me paint the studio walls in the early days, who brought her dog to coffee circles, who never asked me to be more than I already was. Melissa thought I was predictable. Maybe she was right. But she never understood there's strength in stability. Predictability lets things grow, lets people trust you, build with you, dream bigger. She wasn't wrong for wanting chaos. Some people crave sparks, but sparks don't last long. And when the smoke cleared, I wasn't standing still, waiting to be chosen again. I was already gone. Melissa didn't take my reply well. She left it on scene for days. Then, late one night, she sent another message. Evan, please. I messed up. I didn't know what I had until it was gone. Can we just talk? This time, I didn't reply at all. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I just didn't have anything left to give. The man who would have jumped at the chance to fix things was long gone, replaced by someone steadier, more grounded. Melissa tried again the following week. She showed up at the studio unannounced, holding 2 coffees like we were still close. I thought you might be tired. Brought your favorite, she said with a hopeful smile. It hit me then how little she really knew me. I didn't even drink that kind of coffee anymore. I thanked her but didn't take it. We were good together, Evan, she said softly. You have to admit that. We were, for a time, I replied, keeping my voice calm. You're different now, she said, scanning the studio. Stronger. I like this version of you. I nodded. So do I. Her eyes searched mine for something. An opening, an invitation back in. But all she found was quiet resolve. I miss us, she whispered. I don't, I said gently. What you miss isn't here anymore. She blinked, as if she didn't expect me to say that. Then she let out a small laugh that didn't sound happy. You really are done with me. I didn't respond. Some truths don't need words. Melissa lingered a moment longer, then left without another word. I watched her walk out the door, realizing I felt no anger, no sadness, just peace. Later that night, Claire and I sat on the studio floor, eating takeout and laughing over a podcast we'd both been following. Her dog was curled up between us, snoring softly. Claire looked at me and smiled. You seem lighter tonight. I am, I said. Melissa had called me predictable, as if it were a flaw. But Claire saw it for what it truly was, a foundation. Stability wasn't boring. It was what allowed people to feel safe, to grow, to build something lasting. For so long, I'd been waiting for someone to see that. Now, I no longer needed them to. The next morning, I saw that Melissa had unfollowed me on everything. No goodbye, no final message. Just gone. It didn't matter. She had been chasing sparks, but I had learned to tend a steady flame. And that made all the difference.